2025 has also been the year of IPOs, and we have Kranthi Bathini who's joining us this morning to help us understand what the IPO story for 2025 has been and what should traders and investors expect in the IPO season going ahead. Kranthi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really want to focus not too much on the regular movements of the stock market today, but really the big hitters of 2025 as well as the startups that continue to shine on the stock exchanges across the later part of 2025. So first up, let's just talk about the massive listings that we saw this year, the year gone by, before we come to what is expected in 2026. Your quick views on the big ones: the Tata Capital listing on 13th of October and the market cap now well over 1.4 lakh crore rupees, followed by HDB Financial Services, LG Electronics, and of course ICICI Prudential AMC.
Kartik, good morning to you. You rightly mentioned this year has been a year of IPOs. We have witnessed big bang listings, and most of the action has been in the primary market this year. And the promoters at the right time, they could able to move their chips and they could able to sell the stakes at a very good valuations at this point of time. These are the decent companies, strong business models, and they are expected to derive revenues in the coming years and quarters also. So by and large, for any fresh investors, what we are witnessing is for the IPO season is concerned, it can be any IPO, but at the time of listing, the fringiness and also the euphoria and exuberance was there for a week. Post 15 days of listing, what we witnessed in majority of these IPOs, they have been sliding back again. But exception to LG, it had a lukewarm listing. LG had a strong listing, sorry, pardon me. Yeah. Okay, Hyundai had a lukewarm listing and it's recovered very well. Right. Coming back to LG, it had a strong listing. From there onwards, the stocks have been consolidating. So there is a mixed bag. Some stocks are coming with a lukewarm listing and gradually recovering. And majority of the stocks, they are having a big bang listing. And from there onwards, the euphoria is getting fizzled out over a period of time. But from there onwards, what drives these stock prices is earnings. If they could able to meet the expectation of earnings, of the investor expectation and street expectation, we are witnessing some kind of a rallies in these stocks. By and large, these are all decent companies, Kartik. But for investors, how much price I am paying for these growth and these good companies, that is extremely crucial for the investors. That can be addressed over a period of time, taking into consideration of at least 3-4 quarters results into cognizance.
All right, 3 to 4 quarters of results are going to be critical to estimate what the long-term potential as far as the stock price of these companies goes. But it's not just the big companies. In fact, the last 2 months of 2025 saw the startups shine at the Lal Street as well. To begin with, we had Lenskart, which listed on the 10th of November and touched that market cap, which many at that time thought was unimaginable, of 78,000 crore rupees, followed 2 days later by Groww, which listed on November 12th and exceeded the market cap of 1 lakh crore rupees. In other IPOs from startups, we had PhysicsWallah, which listed on November 18th and got a market cap of about 37,800 odd crore rupees. But the bumper listing really came much more recently with Meesho. Remember, the stock listed on December 10th and has done extremely well in the last 10 to 12 trading sessions and has touched a market cap of about 88,000, 89,000 crore rupees or so. So, Kranthi, I want to understand, is the formula for judging the success of an IPO the same for startups as it is for the large cap listed companies? Or are there other functions also like brand building, customer acquisition, which go in addition to potentially just revenue and profitability for startups?
Interesting question, Kartik. Okay, if there is the formula is same, then the investing can be very easy. You and me can go and implement the formula. But it's not as easy as we can discuss. Kartik, there are multiple too many moving parts and factors have been influencing these stock prices. But by and large, to make any serious investments in these companies, I'm not in a hurry to make any kind of putting my money or our investors' money at this point of time. Okay, jumping into these companies. I'll wait for a couple of quarters. I might miss the rally at this point of time. We are ready, but as the greater clarity emerges, we can take a call on any kind of a serious investing is concerned.
Okay.
By and large, these companies, Karthik, they have started adding one tag for their business models. Like right now, Lenskart, when it got listed, they mentioned we everybody thought a chashma banane wala hai. But they are themselves portraying as a technology company in the eyewear
Right.
is concerned.
Right.
Everybody started adding the technology driven tag for their business models. So how far, okay, these kind of tags would be yielding the results, that is extremely crucial. So I folded my hands to look at these companies' earnings in the next couple of quarters, at least 2 to 3 quarters earnings, how they are going to be, is the crux for making any kind of a serious investment decision while investing. We can make some listing gains, but to put some kind of a serious investment for these companies is concerned. Just wait for some more time, yeah, and how the results are going to sustain, that is extremely crucial.
One follow-up question on that is the fact that you also have these global brokerages which sometimes give the buy calls or the sell calls, and especially on these headline-grabbing companies. Like recently, there has been a buy call on Lenskart. Now, what do you make of that, given the fact that it hasn't even completed 1 quarter yet ever since it has been listed? So some people would potentially look at those global brokerage calls very seriously and park some money. While I understand FIIs and DIIs could potentially look at those brokerage calls seriously, do you think retail investors should pay any heed to such calls?
Interesting, Karthik. But Karthik, I just want to take one example. Look at Baizu. The investors are not small retail investors. Okay, the investors are very learned, Harvard scholars, and who understand the balance sheets very well. But they lost their money, tons of money. So whether we are have to heed, hearken to the voice of these global brokerage companies, sometimes yes, but not every time yes.
That was the story for 2025. Let's move now to 2026, and there are some big ticket IPOs slated for 2026 as well. Let's begin, of course, with the biggest of them all, Reliance Jio. Now, again, we saw JFS pretty much de-merge from Reliance Industries in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, Kranthi. And now you're looking at a Reliance Jio, the telecom arm, potentially delisting, and there could be a sort of demerging, and there could be a potential listing of Reliance Jio. Now, estimated valuation of 12 lakh crore rupees. We don't know the timelines and when the red herring perspective will be filed, but is this an IPO that one would have to watch very, very closely and make very, very calculated decisions on?
Yes, Karthik, it's going to be one of the bigger listing. The street has been waiting, and many companies have already infused during the lockdown season into Geo. But Geo, as we mention, always telecom company, but the management always says it's a technology-driven company. So as I mentioned to you, the technology tag is getting added to every new IPO listing at this point of time. We need to see it's a strong business model, and they have a strong reach, and the way they disrupted the telecom services in the recent years, we witnessed the way they have penetrated the investor base and also increased their ARPU. It's a long game for Geo is concerned. So one need to wait how things are going to pan out. Karthik, it is on a lighter note. Uh, these names looks very exciting. Okay, this is just like love before marriage. Post listing,
Right.
the earnings drives, and we all know how many cases the love is going to be retained. Okay, always stock markets, the love in stock market is earnings. So how these companies' earnings are going to go up, that is extremely crucial.
Right, but for Reliance Jio, is the love affair likely to last longer, Kranthi, simply because we know that this is the largest telecom operator in the country. We know the kind of ARPUs that Airtel has been trying to fight over, and Airtel in the Nifty 50 pack at least, in fact, the entire telecom market, which is now pretty much a duopoly with Airtel and Jio. We know for a fact that Reliance Jio, when it comes out with its own IPO, is not going to be under any sort of cash crunch, or there could be any big question marks on growth. So with that little caveat in mind, would you say that Reliance Jio is definitely an IPO that people should park some money in and try to sort of subscribe to it and get allotted?
Yeah, we can't ignore it's extremely crucial, but we need to see the pricing and the pricing of the IPO, how it's going to be. So final blueprint will take one can take a decision, but
Right.
definitely it is a much sought IPO in India.
All right, a much sought after IPO in India. Moving now sequentially again, valuation wise, the next big one which is likely to come out next year is Flipkart, with an estimated valuation of 7 lakh crore rupees. Remember, Flipkart was bought over by Walmart, and then it also changed its domicile from Singapore back to India to specifically list on the Indian stock markets. Estimated valuation of 7 lakh crore rupees. Flipkart, would that be on your radar, given that we don't really have, apart from Meesho, we don't really now have a pure play e-commerce listed company on the Indian markets? Quick commerce, of course, is a separate category, and we will come to quick commerce as well. But Flipkart, with its market penetration, with its order value and volume pretty much almost twice that of Amazon, is this going to be a serious bet for you, Kranthi?
Definitely, Kartik. These are the new age business models. They disrupted the way how things goes, and they changed the lifestyle of the investors, lifestyle of the consumers, and their vendors are concerned. So definitely, these are the much sought IPOs. The names you are mentioning rightly, but what price we are going to buy this growth? And the growth is immense, but how much price I am paying for this growth is extremely crucial for these companies while taking any kind of a serious investment decisions.
Right. So price, the listing price band is going to be critical to evaluate Flipkart. Would you sort of use the same barometer for Zepto as well? Because this space, the quick commerce space, has a lot more competition when it comes to listed entities, and a lot more to understand in terms of historical valuations of both Swiggy and Zomato, now called Eternal. And both there on Swiggy, Instamart and Eternal's Blinkit, competing directly with Zepto. Zepto comes out of nowhere, 2020, sort of milks the pandemic and introduces this 10-minute quick commerce formula, and everybody starts following. And now it follows the sort of bigger daddies when it comes to the quick commerce space, and is looking at a potential listing in 2026. Again, $7 billion valuation. Is Zepto going to pretty much do for investors what Eternal has done, and what potentially Swiggy has not as successfully done for investors so far?
Absolutely, Karthik. 7 billion valuations. Look at the way things are emerging in India. Earlier, it used to take decades to get a market cap of 1 billion. Now, it is just tip of the iceberg at this point of time, getting these kind of valuations. These are strong business models, Karthik. No doubt, absolutely. They created their mark in the marketplace at this point of time. It became a household brand, and it have penetration to get into tier 1, tier 2 cities is concerned. Their coverage, wide coverage, has been going up. They restricted to metros. Now they are getting into much smaller cities. There is a long way to go for these companies. But Karthik, uh, the way for these companies is the technology, and the entry levels for these companies are extremely crucial. Tomorrow, if somebody is disrupting their business model, that's where the risk lies for these companies. They disrupted one business model, and someone will come and try to disrupt their business model. So these are the associated risks for these companies. At this stage itself, there are a lot of big HNA investors have been betting on these companies. They infused millions of dollars into these companies. So we need to wait and watch how things are going to evolve. But much exciting times are definitely ahead for the market.
Absolutely. And talking about those exciting times, we are only halfway into our list for 2026. There's also the big one, National Stock Exchange, Kranthi. This is something closer to you, I believe. And NSE, given the fact that 2025 has pretty much been a flat market, volatility is low, which means traders are pretty much still sitting on the fence. Not as much trading volume, trading value being exchanged on exchanges. So, lukewarm estimations if this environment continues, or would you be bullish on NSE coming up with its own IPO?
We're also just waiting, crossed our fingers, because many of the investors have invested in NSE in the unlisted space is concerned. Strong cash cow, and it is the much sort of IPO for me. We expect the trading volumes to go up on a longer term basis. What we witnessed, the current penetration of equity market is just the beginning of New India. There is a long way to go. Definitely, this is the stock, this is the company to look for long term.
All right, two more to go, Kranthi. I want to now switch focus to PhonePe, a pure play UPI-enabled phone wallet application owned by Flipkart, which is owned by Walmart, and now again repatriated back to India. Estimated valuation of 1.3 lakh crore rupees. Well, compared to the rest of the IPOs, it seems like a small valuation, but still a more than a unicorn. In fact, 30% more than a unicorn. But we saw the story with Paytm go a little sour with investors, and in this digital payments ecosystem, there isn't really any other listed company. So what are the parameters that one should keep in mind while placing bets for or against PhonePe?
Kartik, you rightly mentioned, we don't find any smartphone without PhonePe or Paytm. But the way deriving the revenues, okay, right now, it is a complementary for every investor. You can transfer the money at just with nanoseconds and using their services. The minute they try to charge anything with the payment system is concerned, that's where the investor key concern, and somewhere the other platform dominates. That is the issue with Paytm or PhonePe. So how they bring that customer loyalty while charging some kind of a fee, that is extremely crucial for these business models. So this is the one of the interesting IPO to look after in the coming days.
We will leave it at that as far as IPOs go, but the big ticket question on everybody's mind is that even though Sensex and Nifty did briefly flirt with lifetime high levels in the first half, in fact in the first few days of December, we've pretty much sank from that once again. Now, one wants to understand 2026, start of 2026, three primary headline events that one can potentially look forward to. First is going to be Q3 earnings, second is going to be the union budget, and third, and a big question mark on that, which we discuss without fail every time that we are here, is the India-US trade deal. So apart from these three main headline events for Q4, are there any other events that are on your radar to estimate which direction the markets are likely to take at the start of 2026?
One thing, Kartik, we have a strong domestic liquidity that has been keeping the markets to sustain the range of 26,000 level. So as long as this liquidity is quite strong, and if we are holding this level, markets are expected to do well in the coming year 2026. And we are also waiting for the exodus of foreign portfolio investors when they are going to allocate funds towards India. Because we had a decent consolidation and the margin of safety in the market is comparatively high as on today. So that's where the real catch is going to be. As long as the domestic liquidity is strong, Indian markets are going to thrive in the coming quarters also. But any dent towards the domestic liquidity, that is the key area one need to keep on watching. But by and large, the domestic liquidity is quite strong. Is there any other asset class that's going to take away that money promised to equity market? That's where the key concern. Last year, 25, bullion market has been the outperformer. Is the money flow is getting into the bullion market or any other asset class? That's where the key concern. As long as at this point of time, the domestic liquidity is strong, as long as that is strong, markets are expected to do well. And as you rightly mentioned, the Q3 earnings are crucial.
All right, Kranthi, we will obviously keep an eye on those Q3 earnings and, of course, on the budget and the long-awaited India-US trade deal. It looks like Donald Trump is going to complete 1 year in office for the second time before the India-US trade deal comes to any fruition. But for this year, perhaps, let's leave it at that, Kranthi. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll continue to have you with us all through 2026 as well.